Tajikistan is one of the remotest places on Earth, but Central Asia's poorest country lies at the heart of one of the world's biggest problems, global warming. Rising temperatures are causing its glaciers to melt and retreat at unprecedented rates, threatening the region's water supplies. This is the country's fastest shrinking glacier. Since 1927, it's retreated 3 kilometres. But in the past 2 decades alone, the pace of its retreat has more than doubled. In the Zereshan Valley below, childhood friends Babur and Safasboy have witnessed its rapid retreat.
This glacier used to cover 3 mountain tops, but this year it's only visible on 1 mountain, in the distance over there.
Homidov Anvar is a worried man. He's been tracking the retreat of the country's glaciers, like the one in the Zereshan Valley, and knows that their disappearance is storing up problems for the future.
Over the next 20 to 30 years, the volume of water in the rivers will rise as a result of the glacier melt, and we will see more natural disasters such as flooding. After that, there will be a dramatic drop in the amount of river water available.
This will not only cause problems for Tajikistan, but the countries depending on its glaciers for their water supply. The river Zereshan flows into neighbouring Uzbekistan, where 7 million people depend on its water. But in Tajikistan, disaster has already struck. Temperatures have risen by 1.5 degrees in the past 10 years. In spring, the snow is melting faster and the rains becoming more intense, causing mudslides and flash flooding that destroy homes, crops and livelihoods. In this village, mudslides have become an annual hazard. 250 families used to live here, but after a mudslide left a trail of death and destruction, most people moved away.
There are 54 families here now, but they live in fear of the next mudslide. Whenever the rains come, they're afraid they will sweep away their homes and their children.
Mudslides and floods are also increasing the risk of disease. Most people depend on river water for their daily needs, but it's become muddier and dirtier. Firuza Sultumuradova is taking her 4-year-old son to the doctors again. Like many children in the village, Sahad Johnny regularly gets sick from drinking the river water.
He had a stomachache. His eyes turned yellow and his urine red. He lost his appetite, so I brought him to the doctor, who diagnosed hepatitis A.
With no access to clean water, more and more people are seeking treatment for waterborne diseases.
I think this is because in spring there's a lot of rain and all the mud flows into the river. And in summer, when the temperatures rise, germs spread faster.
The European Union is redoubling its efforts to get clean water to these villages. Since a Danish aid agency installed a water purification system here, fewer children have fallen sick.
Before we got our clean water, our children were getting stomach infections, coming down with things like diarrhea, typhoid and hepatitis. Now there seems to be less disease.
Climate change is also playing havoc with weather patterns. This year has been exceptionally wet, while the 2 previous were exceptionally dry. Last year, the drought was so bad that drinking and irrigation water was rationed during certain times of day. Villagers like Hatboy Kadirov had to queue for the limited supplies, and tensions ran high.
When there's no water, fights break out. There's a lot of conflict. Sometimes, even when we stood in line, there wasn't enough water to go round.
The drought had a major impact on electricity supplies. Last winter, Tajikistan came to a virtual standstill when the country's main electricity plant failed to generate enough power due to low water levels. This year, the water levels are back to normal and electricity production back on track. But the chief engineer is concerned about the long-term impacts of climate change.
We all know that with the disappearance of glaciers, the amount of electricity produced will go down.
Tajikistan's glaciers, regulating water and energy supplies, are the country's wealth. But they also provide most of Central Asia's water. So when their blue gold runs out, it will have disastrous consequences for all the people of the region.